Hey everybody, welcome back to the Calibrate Tools and DIY channel. Glad you guys can make it. I'm a little bit late tonight, and I know I started right away, so you might have missed what I just said. But yeah, welcome back, guys. Started a little bit late tonight. I was working on a job, a squatter removal job, actually. Yeah, I do that on the side. By the way, if you want to check out some good squatter removal content, check out the box with Flash. That's the guy I work with. I'll leave the links to the description. Go ahead and support what he's doing. He's out there, or I should say, we're out there trying to help people deal with their squatter problems. That's a big issue going on. It's become almost like a pandemic lately in the last few years, especially with COVID and people losing their jobs and stuff like that. And we just had the fires here in Los Angeles, so the squatter problem is probably going to get worse. Um, so anyway, guys, that's where I was. Sorry, I'm a little late. So let's get right to it, guys. Where are your industries now? This particular topic that I'm going to discuss tonight, if it doesn't apply to you, then just you feel free to tune out. But I'm focusing more on marginalized communities when I on this live tonight, and to ask some really deep questions, I should say, or at least I've been asking myself um, about the state of affairs as to where certain communities are, particularly the African American community. And I think it's something that everybody can learn from. And if you know if you find these topics a little sensitive to you, maybe you need to ask yourself, why is it bothering me so much? Well, on my lives, I talk about a variety of topics, and I all tie it into what I the theme of this channel, right? Which ultimately has to do with self-sufficiency and community building, right? So that's what, at the end of the day, that's what I'm all about. Okay, so where are your industries? That's the title of this. And I was thinking it's February. They call it Black History Month in the United States. And then I said to myself, well, why is 1 month given to you to celebrate your history? Is your history relegated to 1 month, which I find absolutely ridiculous? Your history spans uh, back to before anybody else's, but in this society, in the Western society, in this country, 1 month is given to you to celebrate and do all the whatever you want to do, make you feel good or whatever. But like I said, I find it ridiculous to even recognize, that your history can be just defined by a month. Okay, but that's what was put on us, and that's where it is. Matter of fact, let's look at the history of that. Where did all that come from, by the way? Okay, Black History Month originated in 1926 when historian Carter G. Woodson designated a week in February to celebrate and educate people about Black history and culture, choosing this month because it included the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. In 1976, President Gerald Ford officially expanded this celebration to a full month. Ooh, a full month, making it Black History Month nationwide. Okay, I get it. There was some formal, recognition of these certain individuals, um, and they decided to just slap a month on it. Okay. Oh well, to make it, I guess, official, right? Um, but at the end of the day, this was back in 1926. Okay, how far has the community progressed since then? All right. Now I don't want to get like into too many specifics, but if you look at the wealth gap, right, from the time African Americans were brought here as enslaved individuals to now, it hasn't really widened that much. Okay, hasn't widened that much. It's still on the bottom of the economic ladder, and even with the advent, all right, of HBCUs, which are historically Black universities, you still have this mentality of, I gotta go work for a corporation. That's what it's evolved to. From being an agricultural robot, aka a slave on a plantation in the agricultural era, now to the corporate world, right, where you get a degree and you go work for somebody. How has that worked out for you in the long run? And when I say you, I'm talking about in a collective sense. How has that worked out for you? Okay, the system has churned out highly educated individuals, but the community itself is stagnated. So there's something doesn't add up, right? Because when I walk out the door in my neighborhood, I don't see a lot of progress, to be honest with you. And I'm not knocking the progress of individuals who are highly educated, or they got an education, they got a good job, and they taking care of their family, and they get to buy some of the trinkets, the big house, the cars, and all that good stuff. And they get to flaunt it in front of their friends when they go out and all that good stuff. Not knocking that. You should enjoy your life, and enjoy the fruits of your labor. But at some point, we need to think further than just our own individual advancement in terms of on an individual basis, right? We need to think more on a collective basis, and I think that's been the struggle ever since we got here. Right? And so, when you look at when you celebrate a month like February as Black History Month, what exactly are you celebrating? Right? Are you celebrating just a word? I mean, are you celebrating something that someone gave you just as a trinket to keep you, I don't know, to make you feel like you accomplished something? I think not. I think we have a very long way to go, and thinking on an individual basis in terms of, okay, I got to get mines, and you get yours type of thing, every man for himself. That's not going to cut it, right? That's not going to cut it. So you need to think more on a collective basis, regardless of the infighting that may occur. We need to look beyond the infighting, and if we want to be able to compete in a global society that's just chugging along at a light speed, certain mentalities need to change on a collective level. You can't get caught up in the political the political circus, right? You have to put aside those petty disagreements and learn to, and if you really care about your family, as a community, then you need to you need to put that stuff aside, because then you'll just be left behind. I mean, that's just where it's at. I was listening to a lady the other day. She said her name is Dr. Ma'at, and she was discussing something on her social media channel. She said HBCUs churn out about 3,000 engineers. I think it's every year or something like. Oh no, since 1984, HBCUs, which is our historically Black universities, colleges and universities, churned out about 3,000 engineers since 1984. Okay, if that's the case, then where is the equivalent of a Silicon Valley for African Americans? And then you can apply that logic to a lot of other fields, by the way, right? You can apply that logic to the medical field. There are a lot more Black, African American doctors than there were, I'm sure, in 1926, or and that's just fairly recent. Do they own and control their, a medical system? No. So where are these people going? They're getting these degrees. They're highly educated in this, and they're going to work for institutions that they have no control of. They can't hand it down to their kids. They can't do any of that. So that's hence the title of this live. Where are the industries that you're building? We have to think in terms of industry building, right? Industry building. I don't care what industry it's in. And it can't just be about beauty products. Okay, it can't just be about liquor or wines and spirits. That shouldn't define a community, right? It can't just be about music. It can't just be about entertainment. You have to think more about science, about STEM, about math, okay, about the building trades, stuff I talk about, right? That's the basic building blocks of society, okay. And if you don't take inventory of where you came from and where you are now, then you're just running in circles. You don't know where you are. You don't have a gauge. You don't have a goal, and you can't really measure true progress, right? And you really can't measure true progress for a nation, for a planet, for a humanity, right? Even if thinking beyond just your community, then what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you here, right? So, it begs the question: why are you celebrating a month that for what? Do you actually know what you're celebrating? Do you have have you looked at where you came from and where you are now, and has that gap widened? Yes, there's been a lot of advancement. There's been a lot of changes and stuff like that, but in an overall sense, a lot of stuff hasn't changed, and that's why I wanted to tackle this issue in quote unquote this month, since it's supposed to be the month that we're supposed to celebrate something. I don't necessarily see nothing to celebrate. I mean, I do give recognition to a lot of the advancements that have occurred, but you can be going backwards in a lot of ways as well. So if you have something to add to this convo, guys, just go ahead and jump in. So yeah, like I said before, 3,000 engineers coming out of HBCUs since 1984, and you don't even have the equivalent of a Silicon Valley or something like that. Were your interests, right? And let's face it, this is a capitalist economy. This is a capitalist system. And in spite of the melting pot that America is, because it is a melting pot, everybody from all over the world comes here, right? It's still divided along economic lines. And so you have to, to not, understand that, right? And to stick your head in the sand and say, well, everybody has an equal foothold. No, everybody doesn't necessarily start from the same place, I should say, right? So it behooves, it's very important for us to, think about how to survive in this system. It's like if you get thrown in the ocean, right? You got to learn how to swim. You got to fight the elements, otherwise you die. So if you don't know how to swim, aka survive in a capitalist economy that's divided along racial lines, along class lines, then you won't survive. You won't survive. Okay, you will be broken apart and fractured, and you will be at the mercy of the elements. And so you have to, for the African American community, I really think that don't be so quick to celebrate when you look at the broader scale of where things, where you are now and versus where you came. Maybe they haven't made it that far yet, right? There's a lot of things that need to be tackled, right? One of those things is just getting rid of the petty arguments about political affiliations and things like that. You can't allow that to fracture you. Okay. You didn't come from you didn't start in the same place, right? You didn't start in the same place as everybody else. So therefore, the methods for you to advance, it's not going to be the same as others. You're not starting the same with the same footing as everyone else. Okay. And this is not victim talk, by the way. This is just straight up reality talk. And, you know, people that say, oh, well, you know, you're playing the victim, you know, forget those people. You know, they don't, that's like telling a woman that was violated that it was her fault, right? And she needs to just pull her bootstraps up and forget it happened and move on. That's that's absolutely ridiculous. You know, when I hear that. Now, you can have a victim mentality. You know, you can have a victim mentality, meaning that uh, you're just succumb. You know, you've succumbed to depression. You think everything's useless. You know, you don't think you have a shot. That's victim mentality. But to acknowledge the harsh realities of where you are, not just you individually, but you as a community, that's not victim mentality. That's actually the first step towards getting out of that situation, right? And so, yeah, so you have to first acknowledge where you are, not just you as a person, but you as a community, and then go from there. And anything that gets in the way of you advancing, then you need to cancel that out of the equation. That includes people, that includes, you know, places, whatever stands in the way, you know, by process of elimination. If it doesn't serve you or your community, then you need to get rid of that, right? Because it's nothing but a hindrance. There's really no middle ground, to be honest with you, right? Either something's helping you or something's hurting you. And that goes for people, that goes for places, that goes for things. And we all have things we deal with in life. But I think the sign of a mature individual, a mature community, if you think on a collective level, is to be able to understand what are the hindrances, right? And being able to put those aside so you can move ahead. Because at the end, I mean, you hear people complain all the time, right? About, oh yeah, woe is me. And in that sense, it's almost like victim talk, right? But there's, like I said, there's a difference. There's a difference between woe and me, and then there's, oh, this is where I am right now. This is where we are right now. This is how we got here. This is what we deal. This is what we're up against, and you know, this is what we got to do about it. You know, you can only move forward from that standpoint when you understand, you know, what you're actually up against, right? And then you can decide and organize and strategize to get out of that situation. So yeah, like I said, you know, it goes back to what I say on this channel a lot. I don't knock higher education. I don't knock higher education at all. And I've repeated this many times. Education is essential. It's essential to the advancement of any nation. It's essential to the advancement of the global society. Okay. And we need that, right? But that's only one factor. What are you going to do with that education? Are you going to take the education and submit yourself to, you know, those who would like you to just stay stagnated and not grow at all? Or are you going to take the education and are you going to build? You know, you're going to build your communities. You know, they talk about the concept of a brain drain, where people come, the best minds come from all over the world to get educated in the most, you know, prestigious educational institutions in the United States or wherever around the world. It could be anywhere. And they never go back to where they came from to help build that place up, right? And that place remains stagnated, right? Because all the best minds left in search of a better life, and they never came back to build. I commend someone who takes their education and goes back to help, goes back to build. And that's the only way you can make your community better, right? Make the world a better place to live. But there are those who don't want that, right? There are those who want to sustain or maintain that divide in the world, right? Where you have the haves and the have-nots. And even if you come to the land of milk and honey, as some people would call America, because so much opportunity is afforded them here in terms of education and other things. You can even here you have the haves and the have-nots. Okay, so back to what I'm going to circle back to how I started this conversation. Back to the African American community, Black community. Yeah, you don't want to go out there and get educated and then not come back and serve your own folks. Okay, and otherwise they remain stagnated. You don't want to run off to go get your picket fence in your house, in the wherever in the suburbs and forget about your own folks. And nobody's saying that you should. Nobody's telling you what to do here. What I'm saying is that you can't complain on the one hand and then not do something about it on the other. Just doesn't make sense, right? Doesn't make sense at all. Part of the reason I just started this channel is in my own way, right, with the level of knowledge that I have, which is, I'm a lifelong learner right here. I'm a lifelong learner. I got a lot to learn, but it's to use this platform to reach a broader audience, right? And that's one of the main reasons I'm on here, and to reach those in those marginalized communities, right? Who feel that they don't have a shot, right? That they're relegated in life to this particular position. You are not relegated in life to a particular position. It's all in your head, right? Right. You first have to envision where you want to be. I'll put it in a more concrete sense. There was a scientist. I think it was a scientist. He did an experiment on water, right? He did an experiment on water. So what he did was, and I may not remember exactly how it went, but he took some water and then he subjected the water to certain sounds or words, right? He spoke to the water or something like that. And then he put the water under a microscope and he saw that the molecular structure of the water reacted to the stimuli, the external stimuli from it, whether it's the sounds or voices or words, right? And if it was harsh words, then the molecular structure seemed more like chaotic and jagged, right? And then if it was more harmonious sounds that the water was subjected to, then the molecular structure of the water had a more harmonious form, right? Structure to it. And that right there proved that your thoughts, your words have an effect on what you think is your external environment, right? You can call it mind over matter, whatever you want to call that. It's a real principle that exists. Okay. So you can change your environment. We have countless examples of people that come out of the worst environments and have ascended past, everybody to attain great things, right? Whether it's wealth, whether it's recognition, all of that, right? So we are all every day, all day affecting our environment in subtle ways that we can't even see and understand. But once you become conscious of that, once you become conscious of how you affect your environment and how your environment is a product of your thoughts, right? And you may say, well, if my environment is a product of my thoughts, then I'm thinking positive all day, nothing's happening. Or, I'm thinking about, I want my people to advance. I want my community to advance, and nothing's happening. We're still in the same place, kind of like what I was saying earlier, right? Well, you may have a positive outlook on life, but collectively, most people don't. Most people are negative. Most people are doubtful that they can even attain great things. So as a result, right, it's going to stay the same. It's going to stay. It's going to stay the same. So, but then you have those that have conquered that their thought life, and you can see it reflected in their own lives. And it's usually reflected in a couple of things, right? That you may be familiar with. So, it's reflecting the amount of discipline they have, right? When it comes to approaching life, which is a big thing. Motivation. Okay. But the thing about motivation is that motivation is good, right? It's good, but it's more of a feeling that can come and go. You may wake up in the morning and not be motivated to do anything, right? You may not be motivated to pursue your goals at all, right? But so you can't rely solely on motivation. Discipline trumps motivation every time, because regardless of how you feel, discipline will make you get up every day and or do whatever you need to do to towards your goal, right? So you can't rely solely on motivation, but it's good to have that, right? It's good to be motivated to do something. But discipline is much more powerful, in my opinion, because you're not relying on your feelings. You're relying on this is going to be done. Well, it doesn't matter how I feel. This is going to be done. Okay. And then vision, right? If you don't have vision, then all those other two things doesn't matter, right? You're just spinning your wheels. So if you have those three things, vision, discipline, motivation, you definitely, collectively, not just individually. But that's one of the hardest things to get a lot of people to do is be on the same page. And if you look at some of the great leaders in society, and when I say great, I don't mean in a positive or negative sense, but in the sense that they accomplished great things because they were able to move vast amounts of they were able to influence people's minds on a wide scale, a vast scale, and ended up really, changing the course of history as we know it, because they got people on one page, right? And some of those people, they didn't survive because the powers that be didn't want that to happen, and all of that. But that's a testament to being on the same page, right? And I'm not asking everybody to go out there and become a Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or a JFK or whoever, right? I'm not asking anybody to become those things. But at the end of the day, people seem to be sheep and they want to be led, right? They want to be led. They're looking for that voice. And, if you can be that voice for yourself, if you can be that voice for your family, you can be the leader in that sense. Everybody can be that in one sense or another, right? In your neighborhood, in your communities, and you'll start to see things shift. I think all of us have that responsibility, and that's not just relegated to 1 month. That should be a lifelong pursuit until you get out of here. That should be a lifelong pursuit until you got it. You have to have something in your life that you're going to take to the end, right? Something that you will be pursuing to the end of your life here on this earth, at least in this body. Find that. You got to find what that is, right? Figure out what that is, and if it's just to take care of your family, then great. Everybody's not meant to be whatever. So we all have what's cut out for us to be, right? Cut out for us. So, and I think when you reach a certain stage in life, you kind of know what that is already, right? And I think a lot of us get distracted and we want to be this, we want to be that. No, you already know what you're good at. You already know what you're gifted with. And if you can use that to serve your fellow man, and then I think you've achieved success right there, right? How do you, that's success right there. You figured out who you are to the core, right? And of course, you're an ever evolving being, but you figured out that part of yourself, right? That's a very freeing state, once you understand who you are, what you're good at, why you're here, you've that's it. You know, you've won at that moment. You have won. Okay, and now all you have to do now is take that and go out into the world and use that. You know, use who you are to enrich the lives of the others and the world. Paragraph 11 says it's one person to one person at a time. Absolutely. It's having a compassion for others and an overall positive pursuit, first local, then expand to global. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I would even say, paragraph 11 notes is to, even if you're working in your local area, because that's how far you think you can reach now, but still have a global mentality, still have a global approach. So if you're going to be talking to 5 people, think about, no, you're talking to the world. You're talking to, you know, thousands, millions of people, right? That's how you should approach it. Because one day, you know, hey, you may end up talking to millions of people, right? You may end up talking to millions of people. So don't think small out here. You know, you got to think big. You're not meant to think small. You're meant to think big. That's who your nature is. Don't diminish who you are. Don't diminish your nature. And especially, this is directed especially towards the African American community, because you know what you've been through in this country. You know what you continue to go through. And I think you need to start looking inward instead of external validation by others who won't ever validate you at all. Don't even look for that validation. You know, you have your, you know, you're already validated already. Just the mere fact of who you are. And actually, the negativity that you receive from the world is actually a testament to who you are as a people. Okay, it's a testament to who you are as a people. You should never doubt yourself. You should take all of that and say, yeah, you know, they're pretty much saying that I'm great and they can't stand it. Okay. So, yeah, guys, like I said, you know, it's supposed to be a Black History Month and all that good stuff, but I find it absolutely ridiculous for a government that relegated you to a status of less than human to give you a month that you should be happy about, you know. But you can use it however you want to use it. You know, but understand that's you know, that's not I think it's kind of degrading and insulting in my opinion. But I guess you can use anything for you know, you can use anything for good. And if you want to use this month, the recognition of it to you know, learn more about your history, which extends far beyond, you know, being brought here in ships and all that stuff. You have to understand when they brought you here in ships, and I know some people have other theories on that. They brought engineers already. You were already engineered before you got here on the ships. Okay, when they came on, they brought the engineers. They brought the agricultural geniuses. They brought the mathematicians. They brought they brought all that. You know, okay, because they needed to build this place up. And so, if they were intelligent, they would have picked the ones that weren't just farmhands, right? Weren't just cattle, or you know, what they deemed as cattle, but they brought the ones that were able to build, you know, the architects, the engineers, and all of that, right? But they don't teach you that, right? They just teach you that you were some mindless automaton that, you know, that they're gonna work the hell out of, which they did, right? But you know, look where you are now. So yeah, you know, learn to define yourself beyond these labels, and understand who you are and where we need to go from here, from this very second. Where are we going to go? Where are we going to be in next year, right? Or tomorrow, I should say, right? where's our mental state going to be? Because it all starts up here, right? Where's our mental state going to be, right? Where our thoughts going to be, right? And the more you focus, I guarantee you, it's a universal law. If you focus enough, collectively, not just individually, collectively, on moving forward and taking the steps to do that, then it has no choice but to manifest here on Earth, here on this, individually in your individual lives, or collectively for the world to look on and say, man, look, yeah, and be all inspired. Okay, so let's make a pledge to ourselves that we're going to do our best to break the barriers that are erected against us, whether that's of our own doing or from external sources. And we rise to another plane of achievement. Berger 11 says, but don't wait until you are suddenly ready. You start where you are by taking the first step. Start to look for a young person to pour into, that you can show work ethic, commitment to your dream. Absolutely. Yeah, that sums it up right there, Berger 11. Yeah, one of the best things you can do is find a young person and pour into that person. And it doesn't have to be somebody like I say, be strangers, right? There's a lot of our youth walking around the streets today, lost, wishing they had guidance. No father figure, male and female, young girls, young boys. And then, they look for that guidance in sometimes in the wrong places, and they get involved with other individuals who are looking for that same guidance. And that other individuals could be 40 years old, 30 years old, right? But never had that guidance and constantly looking for it. And, end up in situations where it's they find themselves, involved in the system, right? And that's what happens, right? Because people don't have guidance. So, if you could pull someone aside instead of seeing them as, oh yeah, he's walking around with his pants hanging down, she's walking around with a bunch of tattoos on her, she's already lost. I don't want to deal with that person. Pull them aside. They may not want to listen, by the way. I'm not saying to do this to everybody, but you can actually affect someone's life just by a word or two, just by showing that you care, that you give a damn about them, right? Because they may not be getting that at home at all, or where they're going in school, their environment. And so, they're full of anger, full of pain, because nobody really gave a damn. Pergo Lino says, got your pledges reinstated. Please list those pledges in your bio. They're on point. Yeah, you really don't know how much you can affect someone, guys. Especially coming from a stranger, and they see, hey, look, this stranger actually gave a damn about me to tell me this, whatever it is you got to tell them. It could be a piece of advice on how to dress, or pull your pants up, or just tell them that they're more than those tattoos, or they're more than that, whatever. Those words alone mean a lot to people, and they take it with them, believe it or not, right? So I think that's one way you could do it. That's how you can affect the world. That's how you can affect your community. It's by showing that you gave that you care in that little way, and that's one of the reasons I do this channel here, is because the trades are something that you don't have to pay thousands of dollars to get into. And I've seen how people learning a skill, can really raise their self-esteem because they didn't have it before, right? And this is one of the ways I give back through this channel. By the way, guys, who want to support this channel, go to calibrate.com. That's one of the ways to keep this channel going. We got some great items on there, and I'll leave the links, links in the description. Check it out. See what I got. Great gift items for yourself, tools and things like that. But at the end of the day, guys, this is one of the ways I give back. And yes, I do run a business. I do sell products. But the way I see it is I have an obligation. I have an obligation to do this, and that's how I see it. You know what I'm saying? So I would feel, that I wasn't doing my part if I wasn't offering you guys, products and services. If I wasn't putting out content that educated you on things, at the end of the day, that's what this is all about here, right? So if you feel an obligation to help your fellow man, your community, then that's what it is. I mean, why would you not do that, right? So anyway, guys, yeah. So yeah, it's you have these individuals coming out of these institutions, these HBCUs, right? And where are the industries that they're building? Are we just happy to get a degree and not build our own industries? That's ran by us, that's built by us, that's where we can provide jobs, right, to our communities. I mean, what's the point in getting a degree and getting a six-figure income if you can't hire your own folks? I mean, what's the point, right? To feed their families, right? I mean, anyway, guys. So anyway, that's my spiel for tonight. Hope you got something out of it on this quote unquote Black History Month. You're not just a month. Your history is not just relegated to a month. You're much more than that. Yeah, you should celebrate that thing every day and dive deep and find out who you are and where you came from. Right? That's what they don't want you to know, right? They don't want you to know the greatness of who you are. They don't want you to know that. But it's your responsibility, and I think it's the responsibility of us as parents, as teachers, friends, whatever, is to understand who we are, right? And then once you know that, once you start from that basis and get rid of all the negative stuff, because they're teaching your kids in these schools that they just they were slaves and they're not even recognizing slavery anymore. They're trying to say that it was some kind of, they're trying to sanitize what happened, and it's crazy. So it's your responsibility, okay, to teach the youth, the next generation, so we won't be in the same place that we are today. Anyway, guys, you have a good night, and I appreciate Perry Girl letting us. Thanks for coming on, supporting, and see you next time. Peace.